Good evening, everyone, and welcome to ATP Live Monday. This is a very special edition because tomorrow is going to be the International Women's Day. And of course, we are happy to celebrate that as well. So, welcome everyone. Please share the video wherever you're watching from. Try and help us to share the video. I'll also try and do the same. And then you can also drop your questions. So let me share the videos and make sure everybody can see it wherever they're watching from. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome and welcome. And happy Women's Day in advance to all women, mothers. Thank you so much for all that you do. All right, so I'm just going to try and share the videos to all our groups and make sure everybody can see and watch the video. After that, we can start. So welcome everybody. Oh no, I've not even gone live on Instagram. Okay, I didn't know I was not live on Instagram. Okay, welcome everyone. Sorry for the Instagram people. I thought I was already live, but I wasn't. So welcome to you, especially if you're joining us on Instagram. Thank you so much for joining. And I was just telling everybody that tomorrow is our International Women's Day. And so happy International Women's Day to all the women, all the mothers, all of you watching me that are of the female gender. Thank you so much for all you do. We celebrate you. So I'm just sharing the videos to all our platforms. I'm making sure it is pinned and everybody can see it. And after that, we can start to answer our questions. Feel free to also share the video and, if possible, invite, tag friends, anyone who should be here. We just have an hour, hopefully. So let's do it quickly and then we can start. All right, I guess I've shared all the videos now. I'm just going to check that they are pinned. And then we can start. Welcome, welcome. I can see those of you on Instagram and those of you on Facebook. Welcome, everybody. If you're watching me on Instagram or YouTube or on our Ask the Pediatrician Facebook page, feel free to just drop your questions straight under that video. But if you're watching me on the ATP Still a Family, Still a Mom, yeah, still a family too, ATP Family Facebook group and ATP Still a Mom, you will need to click on the video link. If you have any question, if you don't have any question, you can just watch the video. But if you want to ask questions, because I won't be able to see your own questions straight away, you have to go to the video proper, click on it, and then you can drop your question under the video. So I think I've done everything I should do. Yeah, okay. I'll finally ETP itself. So many things on my screen. So welcome everybody. Welcome to ATP Live. If you have any questions on your children health issues, feel free to drop them under the video you're watching, whether you're watching on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, you're watching me live. And you can ask a question and I'll try my best to try and answer all of them in the next 1 hour that we've got for this program. Thank you so much for joining me. I think I've done all the pinning, all the sharing, and I think I can go back to my StreamYard. Where is it? Okay, yeah, here's it. Okay, yeah, so I can go back to my own StreamYard. But before I go, start answering the questions, Just to tell you that this program is brought to you by Ask the Pediatricians Foundation. Ask the Pediatricians Foundation is a non-profit that is committed to reducing preventable deaths of children that are rooted in ignorance. And we do that by providing health education information online. We also go to the communities to share, to do community medical outreaches, especially for indigent communities. So we appreciate you supporting us. You can support us by being a volunteer, and you can also support us by uh, donating financially to our outreaches. So I hope people can hear me. Sorry, I think I put off my. Okay, so you're welcome to join us. So you're all welcome. And feel free to follow us, join our Facebook group if you want to have questions. So beyond this 1 hour that I'm going to do on live, we actually answer questions from Mondays to Saturdays. On all our Facebook groups, we have 3 of them: the main Ask the Pediatricians group, the ATP Still a Mom, and the ATP Family. So it is free to join our Facebook group. You can drop your questions there, and our professionals will give you evidence-based answer and advice. If you want to have a private chat one-on-one with our pediatricians or other professionals, it's available at a moderate fee. You can contact us on our WhatsApp number or via our email address. I'm sure you can see it on our pages for those on Instagram and those on YouTube. Okay. We also welcome you to support our outreaches. We ask you to follow us on all our social media platforms, share our videos, share our link, and join us in this vision of getting our child deaths especially in Nigeria and Africa to zero. So that is our goal, and that's what we work for. So thank you so much for joining us. I am Gbemisola Boyede. I'm a pediatrician. I'm the CEO of Ask the Pediatricians Foundation, and I'm happy to be here today to also answer any children health questions that you may have. I also want to let the first-time mothers know that our first-time mom course is running now. It's just 20,000 naira for the next 12 weeks. The feedback has been so amazing. One of the moms was like, she wishes she has known all these things when her baby was born. So it's strongly, strongly recommended, actually, for the first time mom. You don't want to make mistakes, you can join us, or you can just buy the manual. You can just buy the manual online and you can read through by yourself. Or if you want to actually do a self-paced course, all the options are available. Whichever option you prefer is available. So I encourage you to make use of these resources. Very, very useful. I wrote it especially for first-time mothers because I know you struggle and you have a lot of questions. And there's another book coming out also where I've compiled all these questions that first-time moms tend to ask me a lot. So you can also have that as well. So these are your companion books. So you don't have your mom, you don't have anybody doing Omugo with you. You are outside Nigeria and your mom cannot travel. I assure you that with those resources, you will be doing it like a pro. You won't need nobody and you'll be fine. So feel free to contact us on our WhatsApp number if you want more information about all these resources that we are putting out just to make sure we support mothers, again, to reduce unnecessary deaths of children that are mostly rooted in ignorance. So thank you so much. Okay, so I think that's all the announcements and adverts and I'm going to make. Also, there's a podcast, but I'll leave that for another day. So let's just go to our questions. So Jennifer is happy Women's Day, happy International Women's Day. I celebrate all the women. Tomorrow is International Women's Day. We are very, very important. We are very valuable. We are very crucial to nation development. And so for all the women that are listening to me, please celebrate yourself, whether you're single, married, a mom to be, or you're just doing life in whichever capacity. You're a sister, you're a friend. I want to celebrate you and I want you to celebrate yourself. because you're worth celebrating. So happy International Women's Day to you all in advance. It's tomorrow, but you may not see me tomorrow, so I'm doing it for you today. All right, so the first question I've got is from Jennifer. Okay, say, Doug, is it every newborn that stays awake at night and sleeps during the day? And when does colic start and end? Okay, it seems as if I already know there will be somebody like Jennifer when I was talking about the FCM companion book. Jennifer, I strongly recommend you get the book. I will still answer your question. Number one, babies, there's what we call circadian rhythm. In other words, most of us will sleep during the day and then we wake up at night. But for babies, the opposite is the case. So they because they've been in the womb and so they've not been exposed to all the lights and everything. So it's a little bit different from them. So it takes them a few weeks before they're able to regulate. So initially when babies are born, they tend to be awake more during the night and then they sleep more during the day, and then eventually they will normalize and follow the normal circadian rhythm. So there's no worry about that. The single solution to that is, as a mom, you sleep when your baby sleeps and you awake when your baby is awake. What mistake most first time mom does is that when your baby is sleeping during the day, you think, oh, thank God I have all the time in the world to do all the 1001 things on your list of to-do things, to-do list. At the end of the day, then the night your baby wants to keep you awake, then you are so tired and it can be very stressful. So if you make an habit of also sleeping during the day, and eventually you will not be too tired in the night. That is the first thing I want to say. But it's usually for the first 1 or 2 months is to go away. Don't worry. Eventually the baby will they will go back to sleeping during the night and being awake more during the day as they get older. In terms of colic, not everybody have colic, but some have colic, and colic can usually most babies start having it maybe from around the 3 weeks or thereabout, but usually by the time they're about 3 months and a little bit above, closer to 4 months, it tends to stop. So it's one of those, what I call minor issues that babies go through. It's not something to worry about. It's not something to panic about. It's just something to hang in there with and, just find what works for your babies. Some babies enjoy being cuddled. Some babies, like you to back them. Some maybe like the white noises. Some maybe infant call may help. But whatever works or does not work, the good news is that colic is not going to stay forever. In another, like I said, by the time your baby is about 3-4 months, colic will be gone. So Jennifer, you may want to grab a copy of the FTM companion because all these issues were addressed there. All right. Somebody say, good evening. What can make a baby of 5 weeks to be having green stools? So greenish stools is something we see in babies. If this greenish stool that is watery, it is most likely what we call starvation stool due to inadequate feeding. So what we recommend for a 5-week-old baby is that the baby should be on breast milk only, exclusive breastfeeding. So, and you breastfeed on demand. In other words, you breastfeed as often as you can. That is what we expect for first time mom and for babies below 6 months. Okay, so that is one reason. So if you're not breastfeeding enough or you're breastfeeding and not allowing the baby to empty the breast, so the baby is taking mostly the beginning part of the breast milk is what we call fore milk. It's more of water and it's just to make sure satisfy the taste of the baby. Then the later part of the milk is what we call the hind milk, and that is where the fats and the parts of the milk that is rich in fats and all those milk fats and milk sugar are. So it is important that when you breastfeed your baby takes both the fore milk and the hind milk. Some people just breastfeed their baby quickly and then they leave out the fore milk, so the baby takes a lot of water repass, but then they are not getting enough of the calories. Such baby may also have greenish stool, or some babies are not being breastfed adequately enough. That can also cause greenish stool. Some babies, if you are giving them formula, some formula can also stain the stool green. But usually those stools will not be watery or scanty. They will be bulky stools. There will be a lot of them, but very greenish. So you need to know which one is which. But what we recommend is that breastfeed your baby exclusively, and your baby stool will be fine. I hope that's helpful. Again, you can get FCM companion for that. All right. Thank you. The next question, my baby is 1 year. At what month should I stop breastfeeding? She eats all food. For breastfeeding, we recommend 2 years and beyond. So 2 years is fine. The longer, the better. Not only for the baby, but for you as well. Protect against breast cancer, uterine cancer, diabetes. So breastfeeding is not just for the baby alone. Yeah, but yourself, you benefit from it. The longer the better. But what the WHO recommend is 2 years and beyond. My baby isn't eating even at 8 months. I don't know why the baby not eating. So this has to do with complementary feeding. They didn't introduce complementary feeding properly. So I did a mini podcast because I was on the Fresh Waves Radio also last week, talking about infant feeding in the first 1,000 days. Just search for it. It's available on most of the podcast platform. I encourage you to listen to that audio podcast, or you can also go to our Facebook group and go through the guide section on complementary feeding, or you can also do the FTM companion book, because complementary feeding is a whole unit addressed in that book as well. You need to understand how to do complementary feeding, how to go about it. There are principles behind it, and I found out that many mothers, based on the question I get all the time, don't even understand those principles, and that is why we have a lot of difficulties and failures introducing new food to our babies, and then we begin to panic, and then we begin to do other things that make it worse. So what I recommend is that get knowledge first. Get knowledge about how there are a lot of resources. There are videos. Bath and Beyond app has all those videos on complementary feeding. You can download and watch it. It's available in Yoruba. It's available in Hausa in their app, so you can watch it in whichever language, and you can please watch it with understanding, really understand the principle they are trying to teach you, the quantity, how you mix it, how frequently you give, what are healthy food options. You need to understand all of that, and then you practicalize it, and of course with a good dose of patience. So those are the ways. So a 8-month-old should be taking more than breast milk, and 8-month-old should be on complementary feeding. And if your 8-month-old is not eating, I'm worried about malnutrition. So the earlier the better for us. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to be fast today because I just got 1 hour. A 9-year-old snores every time. Should I be worried? 7-year-old snatches at it at night. Is that a problem? Okay, so a 9-year-old who is snoring, we don't know why the 9-year-old is snoring. One of the commonest reasons why a child will snore is that they may have what we call enlarged adenoids. So it is better you see a ENT doctor. ENT stands for ear, nose, and throat doctors. You can see them, they can examine your child, they can decide, because even though adenoids can grow in most children, by the time they're about 5 to 6 years, it should be shrinking. So if your 9-year-old is still snoring, that means it is really still big and it's not shrinking. And then we need to decide, we need to do surgery. So you really need to see the ENT doctors for your 9-year-old who is snoring, and they can advise you on what is next thing to do. For the 7-year-old who is gnashing at teeth, what we sometimes call bruxism, it can be an habit for some children. Sometimes it can also be a form of what we call seizures, like convulsion, which is a bit not so serious, but it's a mild kind of convulsion. Whichever way, we need to know why the child is gnashing the teeth. Is it an habit, or is he a neurological problem like a convulsion, a seizure going on. So I recommend you may first want to see the dentist, because if it is just the dental issues and like an habit, the dentists have some tricks that they can teach you on how to reduce it. But if it is something medical like a convulsion, because there will be other telltale signs, then they can send you to see the pediatrician for further uh, evaluation and support. But it's so important that we know which one it is so that the child can get the right support. All right, I think I will jump to, after this question, to Instagram. So Facebook user say my 5 months, 2 weeks has been running temperature since yesterday. I gave paracetamol, but she's still running temperature. What should I do? You need to take the child to the hospital. Okay, so a child is having fever. What you've done is absolutely right. You've given paracetamol, and sometimes you're giving the paracetamol and the fever is still ongoing. Fever is ongoing for more than 24 hours. You need to take them to the hospital, because we need to know why the child is having fever. It could be anything. It's not only malaria, it could be any infection, it could be other conditions. So you need to take the baby to the hospital and let them be able to examine the child and treat the underlying cause of the fever. But you can continue to give the paracetamol so that the child does not have what we call convulsion from fever, febrile convulsions. Okay, so I will just jump to Instagram, answer a few questions, and then I'll come back to Facebook. All right. The first question on Instagram, the Zenyog saying, Doc, is every newborn that sleeps during the day? And okay, I think, is it just Zenyog? Are you the same person with Jennifer on Facebook? Because this question is exactly the same about the newborn baby who sleeps during the day and keeps awake at night, and when does school start and end? Because I just answered that same question on Facebook, so I'm wondering whether it's the same person. So if it is, I believe you've gotten the answer to your question now. Okay, it's good that you can watch on both platforms anyway. Mentor Mama is saying, my baby of 5 months when breastfeeding sound like his nose is blocked, but his nose is not blocked, and there's no cutter. Sometimes he sound like that when sleeping. What can I do? I really don't think there's anything wrong. I usually don't think. So there are sounds that babies make when breastfeeding. There's what we call the sucking, and then there's also what we call the swallowing sound. So when babies are sucking, they first suck and then they swallow. So they suck and swallow, and they must be able to coordinate that with their breathing. So sometimes mothers hear those sounds and they begin to worry whether there's nothing wrong. So if there's no kata, your baby is not breathing fast, and you only hear the sound when the baby is breastfeeding, it's most likely maybe the swallowing sound, and there's really no need for you to worry about it at all. So just let the baby be. Okay, Jali's brand say my son was diagnosed with allergies, and I noticed he sneezes, coughs frequently. Could this be a sign of allergies? I think your child has already been diagnosed with allergies. So, when you say allergies, what area were you told was your child? What kind of allergic manifestation did your child have? So there are different kind of allergies. So you can have allergic manifestation in virtually all the organs of the body. So you can have it on the skin, and what we call allergic dermatitis or atopic eczema. You can have it on the nose, what we call allergic rhinitis. You can have it with the eyes, what we call allergic conjunctivitis. You can have it in the chest, what we call asthma or bronchial asthma. So different organs of the body, you can show allergic sign. You can even have what we call what children can even have what we call anaphylaxis. Not only children, even adults, which is more like a systemic, very severe allergic condition with, can have swelling of the mouth, the lips, the tongue, and they can collapse, and they need to be taken to the hospital if not treated properly. Now, the most important thing when it comes to allergies is the fact that the initial trigger, what normally trigger of the allergies or the allergens, need to be identified and avoided as much as possible. So if your baby is sneezing and coughing a lot, so your child may have maybe allergic rhinitis or maybe sign of bronchial asthma. So your doctors basically are telling you that is what is causing that. And then they should also give you advice on what to do. Number one, how to prevent it. And when it starts, what do you do? So usually we have what we call anti-allergy medication, antihistamines that doctors can prescribe for you when there is already an ongoing episode. So it may be better to go back to your doctors and have that conversation with them so you have clearer understanding on what to do when when your children have those symptoms. I hope that is helpful. Okay, I think I've answered that. The next question, Hafas, I'm not sure I pronounced that name properly. I dog, my baby of 5 months had cough and catarrh, was given prednisolone, salbutamol, cetirizine, cefixime. Oh my goodness. No test was done. I feel the medication are too much. Please enlighten me. I also agree with you. I just felt your children were just being loaded with so many medication. And I felt that if your child is being loaded with that amount of medication, you should have some you should be told what your child is being treated for. So if your child is being given things like prednisolone and salbutamol, these are medications that we use for asthma. So, and I found it very hard that they will make a diagnosis of asthma in a 5 month old. Sometimes children 5 months old can have a kind of cough that look like asthmatic cough. We call it bronchiolitis, but even then we don't use steroids for it. So you need to ask your doctors, what is my child being treated for? What is the diagnosis here? Then the child was being given antibiotics. So, and the child is also being given uh, something for allergy as well. So it seems to me like the doctors have not made up their mind what exactly is causing your child's cough. So they are treating all the possible causes, whether it's infection, whether it's allergy, whether it's asthma. Let's just put everything on the child. That is actually a very dangerous kind of practice. It's not something that should be done. I agree with you that the medications are too much, and I think you should stop all of them. The most important thing is your child is having cough and catarrh in a 5 month old. Most likely they have a viral infection, and most of them require no medication. They will run by itself and they will run their course. So if the child has bronchiolitis, sometimes we use things like bronchodilators like disabutamol, but then we prefer to nebulize it, to breathe it in rather than just to give it as medication and all that. So ask your doctor, what exactly are you treating my child for? Why this? You have the right to ask those questions, and your doctor has a responsibility to answer the question. But more importantly, prevention of respiratory tract infection. Make sure your baby is on exclusive breastfeeding. It's one of the reasons we preach exclusive breastfeeding. It actually protect your baby against all these respiratory tract infections. Keep your baby away from people that have coughs, colds, crutches, those daycare center. Those are the places where children get these things. Um, Make sure there's no fumes, insecticide, generator fumes, smoke from cooking in the kitchen. Keep babies away from them. Flitting of the house, all those things, you need to keep your baby away from them. Cigarette smoking, firewood burning, keep your babies away from them. Those are the things that trigger all this uh, cough and catarrh and all that. And if you avoid them, your baby will not have them. And of course, if the weather is cold, you keep your baby warm as well. So I hope that's helpful. Too much of medication is not the best thing. And you have to watch out for the side effects of those medications as well. So the next question, Oluwatosin Elizabeth Adebayo say, I took my 22-month-old to crash on Tuesday, and on Wednesday he started coughing here. Okay, it seemed like you were listening to me just now. Then on Friday it became serious. Saturday took him to the doctor. We're giving different medication. Okay, I think your question get cut off because I can't see the final. Okay, I can see, but it only takes oats like 3 times a day. He has been coughing, refused every other food. I gave him. Now he doesn't want to take anything again. Even to give him medication, it's not easy. I don't know what I can do for him to take food and his medication. Okay, so it is not unusual for children not to want to take medications. It is very common for toddlers sometimes to want to take their medication. So what you need to do is to be patient. And what I normally tell parents, try and give the food separate from the medication. Don't try and give it together. Most parents always try to do the two together. It doesn't always work, and you may end up vomiting both the food and the drugs. So try and space them apart. And for the food, don't be too fussy about they must finish a whole bowl. This is not the time to be fussy about the child must eat this, must eat that. Whatever they like, just give it to them. Whatever they like. Sometimes they can only tolerate something soft, like maybe pap, something liquid, something. Just give them that. Don't be fussy about they must eat the rice, they must eat the gari, they must eat the yam or whatever. No, whatever the child prefers, just give it to them when they are sick. Because already a child who is sick already has reduced appetite, so they don't want to eat. So whatever you give to them at that time, it's better you give them what they actually want, so that at least they have something going down into them. Then in terms of the medication, there are lots of tricks to giving such medication. Number one, try and give the medication before the food. Most medication actually you don't have to give with food. I know many people always think, oh, I must always give medication after food. That is not true. If in where it is compulsory, you should do that. The pharmacist will tell you. But there are medications you can give without food. You can give your paracetamol without food. You can give most of your antibiotics without food. It doesn't have to be given on top of food. Reason is because when babies are their tummy have full, it's easier for them to vomit drugs. But if they take the drug before they take the food, it's easier for the drug to stay in. So sometimes it's easier to give you your drugs. Then don't try and give someone like the other person who asked question. Sometimes some of your doctors are giving you like 5, 6, 7 different medications at the same time. It's a lot for the children. So don't try and give all of them at the same time. So for me, for example, when I'm writing medication for children, I usually like to give them something that they will take just once a day, and maybe 3 days, and that is all. So I'm a very good fan of azithromycin medications like that is just once a day and maybe 3 days maximum. So so we try to do that, but sometimes we cannot escape. Sometimes we have to give you medication like ampiclos, and you have to take it 4 times a day and all that. But the good thing is that you can space the medication. You don't always have to give everything. The paracetamol, the ampiclos, the this and that. You don't have to put everything at once. You can give them at different times, and you can use your syringes. So the advantage of using syringes is that you can just drop a little at a time in their mouth, unlike the cup and the spoon where there's a lot of fighting, a lot of struggles, and sometimes you don't win the battle. So there's an article on our website on how to give medication in children who are refusing medication. You can read more about it from there. But the most important thing is that try and separate the medication and the food. Try and be more generous with the children. If they want to take ice cream, let them take the ice cream. If they want to have some juice and all that, this is the time to be lenient with them. Just give them what they like. Give them their favorite food. Let them just take that. No matter how small, let them just say. And don't be pushy about they must finish everything. If it's just 3 or 2 spoons, it's better to take it. And then maybe in 1 hour or 2 hours later, they take another 3 or 4 spoons. And then, so you have to do a lot during the day. And try and give the medication in between. Don't try and fox all of them together at once. The chances of them vomiting it is higher. But if you do all these things and it's not working, then you have to take the child back to the hospital, because that is when we will admit the child. Sometimes there's no option. We just have to admit and give the injections or the intravenous antibiotics. Sometimes that's the only thing we can do. But if you're able to try and do some of these little things, sometimes you may not need hospital admission. I hope that's helpful. Okay, try and always keep your questions straight to the point so that you don't have to split it into three comments, so that I can easily follow. Okay. Okay, I think I've answered that. Because I skipped some questions while looking for the leftover of your own questions. I have to go back now. Okay, so good afternoon. My child has been treated for cough and catarrh. It seems like we're in the season of cough and catarrh now, because this is like the 4th question I'm answering on cough and catarrh now. The child has been treated for several times. Most times antibiotic is also prescribed. However, I noticed a week or two after treatment, the cough is noticed. I don't know. Please, what else can I do? How old is your child? Me. Whenever you're asking questions, start with the age of your child. I am worried about the amount of antibiotics for in the last few months. Okay, so me, how old is the child? So if you have an older child, a 1 year old, 2 year old who is having cough and catarrh all the time, you need to see a pediatrician because the child may have what we call allergic condition. Like I was telling the first person that actually started this cough and catarrh scenario, it may actually be maybe allergic rhinitis or maybe asthma. So sometimes the treatment for asthma is not antibiotics. So we don't need to give them antibiotics. We just need to give them drugs for asthma, either to prevent it or to control it. So you will need to see a pediatrician. Children should not be having cough and catarrh like every week, every month, and coming and once it's coming and going, there's more to it. There's more to it. Another thing that can also cause cough and catarrh to be going is if your child is attending a crèche, because usually the crèche is a reservoir of children who have cough and catarrh, and then when your child is getting treated, the child goes back and gets it again, and then you start the cycle all over again. So it's one of the things that actually crèches should be doing, that when children have respiratory tract infection, they don't allow them in, they keep them at home. But I know most parents also will lobby, oh, I have to go to work, where am I going to keep the child? So eventually most children who attend crèches are always having cough and catarrh all year round. And you notice that when they're on holidays and at home, they are much better because the exposure is broken. So, but if your child is having cough and catarrh all the time, you need to see a pediatrician because it's maybe more than just what we call respiratory tract infection. The child may actually have maybe asthma or other allergic condition. So it's very, very important. Okay. Okay, yeah. So I've see. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but anyway, you said you were agreeing with me that you didn't give your child all those plenty medication. Your child is better, yeah. So most time the children don't need all this medication and they can be better. And I know sometimes the other doctors, because you mothers also go to them, and then you make them feel like they have to do something. They have to do something. I think one of the things that we pediatricians tend to do, tell you all the time, is that sometimes you don't need to do anything. Sometimes you just need to leave it alone and it to go by itself. So it's not everything we need to treat. Sometimes some things that you watch and wait for it to go. So I'm happy your child is better without all those medication. Okay, last question on Instagram, then I'll go back to Facebook. Cassie Damaris. I noticed that my 6 week old baby diaper is wet and heavy like before. Do you mean it's not heavy like before? Because there's something that is missing in your question. Please, what do I do? She's on exclusive breastfeeding. So I think you should read your question again and correct. I think you mixed out the word, because if your diaper is wet and heavy, then why are you worried about? If you mean it's not as wet and heavy as before, then I need to know. But because I'm not sure which one it is, I don't want to assume. So you may need to have to post that question again. Okay, you've corrected it now. Say, my 6 weeks old baby diaper is no longer wet and heavy like before when removed. Hope there's no problem. There may be no problem. So it depends on how often you breastfeed your baby. So you should breastfeed your baby on demand. And also, as well as babies getting bigger, they're able to absorb water better, their kidneys function is better. So also depend on the weather. So for example, if it's becoming hot where you are, then the baby is going to keep more water in, and then they're going to pass out in urine. But if it's during the cold weather, babies tend to pass a lot more urine because they don't need to keep a lot more water in. So this can affect the how heavy or how much of urine your baby makes. So number one depends on how much the baby is taking. How much are you breastfeeding? Are you breastfeeding as much as before? Two, what is the weather like? Is it a hot weather whereas baby is losing a lot of water through sweating and all that, and then they will reduce the amount of water they pass out in the urine, or is it cold and then they will actually don't need to keep as much water. So even your diaper as well, if you change diaper, some diaper are a lot more absorbent than others. So those are all minor issues. But if you're not sure, the only way you will know whether a baby is making urine or not is that you take off the diaper and you actually collect the urine. That is what we will do. We will collect the urine and we measure it, and then we'll see whether the amount the baby makes is enough. But for you as mothers, most time you won't be able to do that. But what you can do, most babies will pass urine within 30 minutes of um taking breast milk. So if you breastfeed your baby, take off the diaper and notice whether the baby makes urine within 30 minutes. Your baby is making urine, then there's really no reason for you to worry or panic. I think we worry if there's no urine at all, or like baby's going for hours without making any urine, then that's when you need to see a pediatrician. All right, okay, good. So I'll come back to East Facebook. My baby of 7 months old pulls more than 4 times a day. It is not diarrhea. What could be responsible for this? There's nothing wrong here. This is absolutely normal. It is normal for a baby to pass stool even up to 12 times a day if they want to. The most important thing is that the stool is not watery. So if the stool is not watery, then there's nothing wrong. We only worry if the stool is watery or is hard. So if your baby is passing normal stool, whether they pass it 5 times, 10 times, it doesn't really matter. There's nothing to worry about and you don't need to do anything. So just leave it alone. Somebody say I took my 22-month-old to crash. Okay, it's the same person. Okay, some people are asking me both questions on Instagram and on Facebook. Okay, I think this must be Elizabeth's question. So I've answered your question. So just relax and I think I've answered your question. So another Facebook user said my 3-month-old baby weighs 5.5, birth weight was 3.5. Is this something I should be worried about? No, that is fine. The weight of the baby is fine. Keep breastfeeding exclusively. And you can join us on the FTM course if you want to. Good evening. Is it safe to use hair removing cream on a 10-year-old armpits and pubic area? That's very strange for a 10-year-old to be that hairy that you really need to now remove them. That's very strange. If your 10-year-old is really that very hairy, you should be seeing the pediatric endocrinologist. You should see them because we want to be sure there's nothing else going on. It's very unusual for 10-year-olds to have developed so much what we call adrenarche, like they have so much pubic hair, and I worry about that. But you can remove it. There's no problem with that. But I worry more about why the 10-year-old is having so much that is now even an issue of it's being removed. It's very unusual. You didn't say whether it's a boy or a girl. You left that important information out. So, but I worry about a 10-year-old who is really that hairy. So you may want to see the pediatrician. Make sure you may just be a child who is just early, but then sometimes some of these things are the first sign that there's something actually wrong that we need to look out for something else. So you may want to see any of my colleagues. Okay. Good evening, though. Please, can I barb my 13-month-old baby with clipper? Why not? You can. As long as you are able to do it gently and the baby is able to cooperate with you, you can do it. Our 9-year-old and 7-year-old, we've answered your question. If you put your question and you go away, I'm sorry, you will have to come back and listen to the video all over again because I've already answered your question. So if you missed it, don't worry. Just rewatch the video because you will definitely get the answer to your question. Another user say, how can one achieve exclusive breastfeeding with twins? Well, it's your mindset. You can do it. It's a mindset that you can do it. So people do it. People have done it. I think if you go through our Instagram page or our YouTube video, we have mothers of twins who have given us the testimony. It's something that can be done if you want to do it. So if you have made up your mind, how can you do it? Because you can actually lactate Breast milk is a demand and supply. The more the baby suck, the more milk you produce, and people actually produce milk even more than what their baby needs. So, if you make up your mind that I can do it, you do it. So it's just your mindset that needs to. So you have to agree with yourself that you can do it, and you will do it. Okay. Next person. What is the cause of switching? Okay, twitching. This one seems like maybe you've seen, if it's a newborn baby and you're using the word twitching, I assume you're in a hospital and you have caught that word from the pediatrician, because only pediatrician use those kind of terms. Mothers don't talk about their baby twitching. It's a pediatrician word. So we use it sometimes when the baby is making abnormal movements, what look like seizures, and there are many reasons why babies could do that. It could be low blood sugar, it could be infection, it could be the fact they didn't cry at birth. There's so many reasons. So if you're in a hospital, please ask your doctor what they think is going on with your newborn baby. Sometimes there's really nothing wrong, but most time when we say baby is twitching, it means that we're worried that this baby is having a form of a convulsion, and the most important thing for us to deal with the cause. Is it the sugar that is low? Is it some electrolyte that's abnormal? Whatever. But the pediatrician knows what to do. So if you're in a hospital, the doctors will do the right thing. If you're not in the hospital, please take the child to the hospital. But I can bet that you are in the hospital for you to use that terminology. Is a very, very pediatric word, not something mothers use routinely. Okay, another person say my 3-year-old talks but not fluently. Is this something to worry about? If you are asking me, then you are worried about it. Because if you are not worried, you won't be asking. And if you are worried about it, then it means we should see your baby. We should see at least a speech therapist should see the child to be sure what is wrong. Because if your 3-year-old is talking like other 3-year-olds, you will not likely ask this question. So my gut feeling is that the 3-year-old here is not really talking like a typical 3-year-old. Then I will recommend seeing a speech therapist. Let the speech therapist evaluate the child and advise. Sometimes it may just be something minor, maybe a little speech therapy here and there, but sometimes it may be something more serious, like a child on the autism spectrum and all that, because there are other things that professionals look out for that parents don't take note of, because sometimes you are too close to the situation to really appreciate some things. But a professional, we are dissociated from the condition, so we can see some things that you may see and may not take it serious, or you may explain it away. Usually that happens all the time. So it's best to see the professional. And if the professional sees your child and they said there's no problem, then that will be, you'll be more reassured, and then you don't have to worry. All right, Victoria say my 11-year-old said our school nurse said it is safe for us to use hair remover instead of shaving big, because it's better with hair remover, because I don't want her to have dark area in the armpit due to hair remover. Thanks. Really, I personally, I don't really think it really matters whether you shave or whether you use hair remover. It's a personal choice. It's a personal choice. So just do what works for you. The most important thing is that you want the hair gone, and hair is gone. But just do what works for you. All right. Thank you. Thank you for all those who are giving us kudos. Uh, Good evening. My daughter weighs 6 kilos since 10 weeks, and she's 5 months old today. No, that's really not possible. So your baby was at 2 months, your baby was weighing 6 kilos, and it's still weighing 6 kilos at 5 months. So what has happened? Was baby sick? Was baby not eating? Or is it the error in the scale? What was the birth weight of the baby? I would definitely need to ask a lot of questions for us to know what to do. So I would recommend you see a pediatrician first, so that they can ask you all these questions I need to ask you. What was the weight of the baby? And what was the baby feeding on? Is baby on exclusive breastfeeding? Is baby on formula? Was baby sick? Those are all the questions that we need to ask, which are not in this post. So because of that, we cannot even tell you what is wrong. Sometimes some babies are not gaining weight because they have some other medical conditions. For example, if a child has a hole in the heart or other congenital problems. So without asking you several questions, examining the baby, we will not know what to do. So I'll recommend doing that first. And always tell us how you're feeding your baby as well. It's helpful. Can a child of 10 years bedwetting a problem? I'm not sure I get that question, but if you are asking whether bedwetting a 10-year-old is a problem, yes, it is. A 10-year-old should not be bedwetting. So if a 10-year-old is bedwetting, you need to see a pediatrician or any of the doctors, or sometimes some specialist nurses also do some bedwetting. Sometimes it may be as simple as us helping you to understand about amount of fluid to give the baby, give the child, about the bowel, and making sure there's no constipation, making sure the child is moving the going to toilet regularly. So we need to regulate all that. Sometimes we just be doing some other sometimes some children, they have difficulty concentrating their urine, and we need to give them medication to help them. Or sometimes there's actually a problem in the urinary tract that we need to sort out. So a 10-year-old who is still bedwetting should see a pediatrician, because it's also at this age, 10-year-old, they start going to sleep out in their friends, they go to parties, they go to boarding school. It can be quite embarrassing for them, and it can affect them psychologically as well. So we really need to get it sorted. Most parents think bedwetting means the child is being naughty, or the child is uh, it's a behavior issue and they beat them, they scold them. No, sometimes it's a medical problem, and the children need to see a doctor. And it will be amazing that it's something that we can treat and children can get rid of. So it's something treatable. So please, if your child is bedwetting at 10, I strongly recommend you see a pediatrician so that they can give the right support to the child. All right. I need precaution on my 5-year, 9-month-old that is hemophilic. I don't understand what you mean by what precaution do you need. So if your child has hemophilia, for those who don't know, hemophilia are people that have there are things that make our blood to clot. When you cut yourself, you bleed, but then you stop bleeding because there's what we call clotting. So there are clotting factors in our blood that helps that blood to thicken up and stop the bleeding. But people that have hemophilia, we have different type, hemophilia A and B, they lack some of those clotting factors. So because the clotting factors are lacking in them, they tend to bleed longer, and they can bleed very badly. What may look like a small accident, like you just knock yourself or you do a little thing, for those who have hemophilia, they can bleed seriously. They can bleed so much in their joints, they can bleed in their brain, and it's a very serious issue. But luckily for us, we have those factors that we can give them as transfusion. So, but for you, the most important thing is for you to understand your child has hemophilia, and for the child to also understand that. So we don't want them to do things that will put them at risk of injuries, of accidents, things that will make them bleed. So we don't want them to play football. We don't want them to live a normal life, but we don't want them to be in situation where they will have a lot of contacts, sports, or things that will put them at risk of accident. So I believe that if you have a diagnosis of hemophilia, the doctors must have done a good job of counseling you about that. And sometimes we have to give them factor A's, we have to give them regularly just to help them. So you should also download resources online. These days there's so much information on the internet. Download, read about hemophilia, join support group for hemophilia in your community. And but it's not like they can live a normal life. I don't want you to be too scared. I know, actually for the boys, and usually it affects boys. It's usually a sex-linked condition, so it tends to happen in boys anyway. And the boys are the ones that are always very aggressive play and all that. So you may just want to encourage a child and make sure you are very close to your hematologist to see them regularly and go for follow-up. But the child can live a normal life. I hope that's helpful. The next question, a baby is diagnosed with respiratory allergies, especially dust. Does it mean the child is asthmatic? Not necessarily. So there are different kind of allergies. So asthma is a bit different. Um, Asthma has to do with the lower lungs. The what we call the small airways. Some people can also have allergies, that has to do with the upper airway, especially if it's around the nose. So like you didn't really tell us what symptom this child was having. You just said the child was diagnosed with respiratory allergies. So if you have told them whether the child is actually sneezing and bringing a lot of catarrh, then we know it's most likely the allergic rhinitis. If it is asthma, the child struggle with breathing. So they may actually cough, or they may be making all this wheezing sound when they, you just hear those wheeze. We call the wheezes, they wheeze a lot. So the symptoms will tell us which one it is. So you can have allergies to dust, and it can trigger off an asthmatic attack, or you can just trigger off an allergic rhinitis. So depending on the symptoms. So if your doctor has not used the word asthma, then I'm not going to use the word unless your doctor uses it for you. Just for you to know that some children can actually have what we call atopy. In other words, they have allergies affecting multiple uh, structures. So they can have allergic, they will have on the skin, they will have on the nose, they have asthma, they will have all of them. So some children have what we call atopy. So they have the allergic atopic eczema. They also have the sneezing a lot, and they also have the asthma. So they can actually have the three together, or even more. Whereas some children just one that they will have. So it's better to have that conversation to know which one, or if better you tell me exactly what symptoms your child have, and I can tell you which one it is. Somebody said, can I potty train my 2-year-old? Why not? You can start potty training from 18 months. We have a whole article on our website activepediatricians.com on potty training. So if you sit on the potty, it's like the pool goes back and he start playing with his potty. Is there any trick around this place? So number one, before you start potty training, your child must be ready to potty train. And what are the signs that the child is ready? The child is able to walk. The child is able to get the potty. The child is able to take off the pants or nappies or whatever you wear for them. They must be able to take it off, and they must be able to sit on their potty. So if your child must be able to give you a sign, or they must be able to tell you that they are ready they want to do number one or number two. They must be able to talk and tell you. If not talk, they can give you a sign that I need to use the toilet, or I need to use the potty. So if your child has all these signs, then you can start potty training them. So some children, they are not yet ready for potty training. So they see you making them sit on potty as a game, and that is why they will play with the potty, because it's a game to them, it's fun. So you can also actually make them watch videos. I don't know how, okay, your child is 3 years old, so it's okay. Some children are not ready till they are 3 years old, so there's nothing to worry about. Some children are just not ready. So sometimes if you make them watch videos of children who are sitting on the potty, doing their poo on their potty, or you give them books to read, showing them what it is to do it inside the potty, make it fun. Some they will begin to get in, but make sure the child is ready first. If the child is not ready and you try to force them when they are not yet ready, you just get frustrated a lot. And so just leave them. Some children are not ready till they are 3, and just be patient with them. But if the child is ready, why not? You can go ahead. Okay, so somebody say, what can be done if a child PCV is low? So a child PCV being low is called anemia, or shortage of blood. So now there are different causes of low PCV. It could be due to iron deficiency, it could be due to folic acid deficiency, vitamin B12 deficiency, or there are some other medical conditions or chronic conditions that when people have those conditions, their PCV is usually very low. So your doctor, apart from making a diagnosis of low PCV, should be able to tell you the cause of the PCV being low. So usually when we do the blood test, we don't just do the full blood count, which is what most parents will go and do in the hospital. So you just do the full blood count, but we are looking at other things. So we want to look at why is the PCV low, and then we want to treat we want to address. So we will check for things like ferritin, we will check for the blood film. So there are some other signs that we will see that help us to know that this is why the PCV is low. So we need to give blood tonic, or we need to give folic acid. Don't just go and buy blood tonic. There are some children that should not take blood tonic. For example, if a child's PCV is low because they are sickle cell anemic, they have sickle cell anemia, if you give them iron, you are going to make things worse for them. So that is why you should not self-medicate. That's why you need to let the doctor tell you why the PCV is. So some children's PCV are low because they have sickle cell anemia. So we need to know why. Or some people are breaking down the red blood cell. They have what we call hemolytic anemia from some other reasons. So we need to know why, and then that will tell us how to manage the child. So there's no one answer fits all. It depends on what is causing the anemia. Okay, it's time up. I'm just going to try and round up now and answer only the questions that have come in by 6 p.m. I mean by 7 p.m. and then we can call it a evening. So let me just go back to Instagram and answer the ones that came in a few minutes ago. Um, uh, I think I've answered that. Okay, is there anything? Okay, so Cassie Damari said the weather is very hot here in Abuja. So, okay, yeah. So if the weather is hot, then that may explain why your baby is not making as much urine. But your baby should not be having heat rashes. So if the weather is hot, please don't also overcover the babies. Nigerian mothers, I don't know why we believe we must always wear cap, must always wear socks, must always wear meetings, they must always wear thick clothes, even when the weather is 40 degrees. Please don't do that. That's why they have heat rashes, because you are blocking the pores from allowing the water to come out. So reduce the covering, okay? Reduce the covering. Just keep breastfeeding your baby. Your baby you don't need to give water because the weather is hot. Trust me, what breast milk is 70% water. So the baby still has enough water in breast milk. Just breastfeed and breastfeed on demand. There's nothing else to do. You can increase your breast milk supply. If your breast milk is low, it's because you are worried, you're anxious, and you're not breastfeeding the baby as much. So the solution to it is to keep breastfeeding the baby. The more the baby suck, the more your milk will flow, and you just need to drink water and relax. Because when you're worried, when you're anxious, you produce stress hormones. And what stress hormones do, the hormones, what they do is that they reduce your breast milk production. So just relax. You got it. There's nothing to worry about. Lolly P Global, what is that weight for 8-month-old baby? An average 8-month-old baby weighs 7.5 kilos. Am I right? No, 8.5 kilos. But your baby's weight is 2.9, weighing 7.9. That's fine. I'm not worried about it at all. And that was at 6 months. That's good. Good job. I always look forward to your session. Thank you. Please share, invite friends. And if you want to know more about babies, newborn babies, feel free to get a copy of the FTM Companion. All right, I think I finished with Instagram, and I'll finish with Facebook and all that. Okay, so somebody say, what can make a 10-year-old baby to see bedwets? Bedwetting is just like, it's just like you asking me why should a 10-year-old have malaria. They can bedwet as well, and I've explained there are many reasons why. It's a condition, it's a diagnosis on its own, and I don't know why this particular child is bedwetting, but there are different explanations. What we need to do is to see the child, and then we can give you advice. So we just see a pediatrician, and then they will ask you the question. Then we know why this particular 10-year-old is still bedwetting, and then we can advise you on what to do. Okay, so there are no drugs to boost the child's blood. You must know why the child's blood is low, because it's not every child's blood that need boosting. So don't just go buy drugs and give without knowing why. Is it iron deficiency? Is it folic acid deficiency? Is it sickle cell anemia? Is there another condition that needs to be treated? So that is what you need to fix first. Is it necessary to use steroid on baby size? Please don't. Never ever use steroid on baby's eyes. Steroid actually contains a lot of lead, and use of it can cause what we call lead poisoning in the child. Lead poisoning can cause a child's PCB to be low. It can cause brain damage. It can cause some damage to the organs of the body. So please don't ever put all those babies that you put zero in their eyes, you are causing a lot of harm to them. I don't know whether that's why we have a lot of boys, area boys in Nigeria today. Please, let's stop it. It's not helpful for the children. Okay, and okay, I think I've answered that. 6 months old cannot sit on her own. Usually babies start to sit with support. Are you putting some support around her? A 6 month old will not be able to sit with on their own. They should be able to sit with support though. So if your baby is, if you put pillow and baby is still not able to sit, or the neck is not staying, then you need to see a pediatrician. But if your baby is able to sit with a pillow, there's no need to worry. But if by 8 months they are not sitting on their own, then I will worry about it, and then you need to see a pediatrician. 9 months old sweats a lot when exposed to little heat. How do you know the heat is little? Heat is heat. If a child is exposed to heat, the child will sweat. It's a natural reaction. So just leave baby alone. So what you need to do is to remove the heat exposure and let baby eat well. So that you didn't tell us the weight of the baby, so we can't know whether the weight is fine or not. So don't worry. Baby born at 34 weeks, weight is 2 kilos, 6 weeks, 3.5, 10 weeks is 4.3. That's fine. Baby is gaining weight. Yeah, what do you mean baby is not be feeding well? Baby is feeding well. If baby is not feeding well, baby will not be gaining weight. So don't compare your 34 weeker to a baby that was born at 37 weeks. They are not going to gain weight the same way. Okay, so and don't try and rush them to feed because you want them to catch up with the babies that were born at the same time who were born at term. Don't do that. Actually, too much food is not good for the preterm baby. You can cause problem for their hearts and all that if you give them too much of food. So just let this child is eating well. This child is gaining weight well. I have no worries about this child because every time you go to the hospital, the baby has added at least 1 kg, which is what I expect the baby to do. So don't just let the baby be. Just if you want to know more about the care of preterm baby, you can also get a copy of the FTM companion. Marachi, when it's time to stop breastfeeding? 2 years. And what is the best way to win? You do it gradually. You for reduce, start cutting it down. Maybe you stop breastfeeding during the day only at night, and the nighttime one, the day you are ready, you make up your mind you're ready, you're going to stop, and you just stop. And of course, you just expect that baby is going to cry. There's no doubt about that. But after that, 1 or 2 days they get over it. You can use some painkillers, wear firm bras, and after a while your milk will stop flowing. That's it. It's as simple as that. So you can also check tips of winning on our website. We have an article on that as well. Final question. Okay, you want to locate our office. So ATP does not run an hospital. We don't have an hospital, but we definitely have an office. So, but we if you are in Lagos, we can see your child, but you have to contact us through our WhatsApp number. I think let me show you the numbers. Okay, I can't find the number now. Okay, but I'm sure the number should be somewhere behind me. If it is not, I'll look for it later. Okay, yeah, I found it. Okay, so that's our WhatsApp number. So we run ATP clinics, but we tend to do a lot of virtual consultation because some of you are not in Lagos. So for those of you outside Lagos, we will do video consultation for you. It is not free. You pay for that service. You can also have a chat with the pediatricians and all that. But for those in Lagos, we can see you in Surulere and we can see you in Victoria Island. But you'll still have to send us a message on the WhatsApp number showing on the screen. For those on Instagram, it is 9056 916818. 9056 916818 for those on Instagram. Okay, I think I've answered all the questions and I think it's time to go home. 8 months old baby Jackie on his own and cannot 8 months old baby who is jacking cannot sit on his own. That baby needs to see a pediatrician. That child is having seizures. That child is having developmental delay. That child needs to see us. Okay, so time is gone. We finished now. So if you have any questions still, feel free to send us your question on our Facebook group from Mondays to Saturday. Mondays to Saturdays, you can post your question on Ask the Pediatricians Facebook group, and all my colleagues, myself, will be there to answer your questions. And like I said, if you want to reach us for private consultation or chats, send us a WhatsApp message. It's all over all our platform. Whichever platform you have, just navigate to our page or wherever. I'm sure you will see our WhatsApp number or our email there, and you can send us a message. Please note that when you contact us on the WhatsApp for chat or video consultation or face-to-face consultation, it is not a free service. But if you post your question on our Facebook group, it is a free service for us to answer your question. We'll try our best to do it in 48 to 72 hours. So thank you so much. Once again, before I go, I just want to wish all the ladies on Ask the Pediatricians Foundation happy International Women's Day. ACP is a group that has over 75% women. So we are very strong on the Women Day celebration. Both our CEO, of course, majority of our volunteers are all ladies. And of course, our mothers, amazing, amazing. We appreciate you all. So happy International Women's Day. Keep doing good. Keep making this world a better place. I'll see you once again next week by God's grace. Bye.